Hello everyone, just a quick video to discuss exotic components and the best way to farm them. This is a big question right now. What is the fastest way to farm exotic components? They've become more important than ever, especially with the recent announcements around prototype gear and the need to expertise your builds to upgrade them to prototype builds. So with that said, we thought we'd do a quick video to discuss the best way to farm these. And it's not just for that. You need exotic components as well for things like reconfiguration blueprints for exotics. You'll spend them there also. So they're a very handy resource to have. However, they are quite rare. Now, let's just quickly go over some ways you can naturally earn them going throughout your gameplay. Now, if you go over to the map and go to projects, you are going to find some projects here that reward exotic components. One of the easiest ones is the weekly shade requisition project. This will give you an exotic cache, and with that, you'll get an exotic item. You can break it down to an exotic component, and that is how you get exotic components. Really, you break down your exotics. That's how you get them. And then there's some projects here that will just reward you with exotic components as well straight off the bat. So keep an eye out on your projects. Check your weeklies, check your dailies. You can see on this weekly one here, there's 3 exotic components for that. They'll sometimes do events as well that they hand them out, and you want to keep an eye on all sorts of events and projects to just earn them naturally. Next, your only real way of getting them is through breaking down exotics, and for that you're going to want to farm for them. There's a few ways that you can do it. Now, one of the ways a lot of people will mention in my live stream chat is by farming the DZs. In the DZs, every single landmark is going to have a cache that you can open with a key or steal. These have a chance of dropping them. It's not a guaranteed chance, although it is quite high in the DZ, I believe. But if someone else has already opened one, you got to wait for it to refresh. And obviously, there's PvP going on in the DZ as well. So plenty of distractions. That is a decent method, though, if you want to farm the DZ and you can keep on going landmark after landmark. And if you can get a DZ server where you're just in it, pretty decent farm for them. It's similar to the control point farm as well. If you're controlling open world control points, when you open the box at the end of the control point, the chest with the loot in, there's a chance that exotic components can drop out of them as well. I don't think it matters what difficulty you're playing on either. So daily, you're able to go around every single control point on all 3 of the maps if you own the expansions as well, as a chance from the chest that you get exotic components. Although that's not as high as the DZ, I don't think. So I won't say it's the most consistent farm. It's just something that maybe if you're farming for something else, if there's another grind you're doing, you can build up some exotic components that way. Now, the 3 ways that I really like, which we're going to go a little bit more in depth on now, is 2 of the game's modes. So we'll talk about them first. The first one being countdown. Now, if you want to set up a game of countdown, I believe it is a pretty efficient way, not the most efficient way, but the countdown mode has a vendor, and you are also grinding some in-game currency where you can spend at this vendor. And as you build up that currency, you can see I've already spent it recently. I've gotten on there, but you can build this up to thousands and thousands and thousands. And when you build that up naturally through playing the game mode, you can come here and purchase a ton of exotic caches. This is a great way to get exotic components because buy a load of these, break down all the exotics, and you've got a load of them. And while you're playing countdown as well, you can also target your loot, so you've got chance of exotics to drop. So if we go and set up targeted loot on countdown, we can set it to something like a weapon or a gear piece, and there's a chance an exotic will drop through having it targeted as one of those items. Just make sure you don't pick anything like a gear set or brand set, though, because they won't drop exotics. But an actual weapon or gear piece, they have a chance of dropping exotics off the enemies that you're killing. So that's a good farm, because with countdown you'll also be farming materials as well and farming some other resources, so it's kind of like multi-farming at the same time. However, I wouldn't say it's the most efficient. I'd actually go over to retaliation. So if we go back to the map and go to retaliation is a real good farm. It just probably requires a little bit more focus. If you know how retaliation works, you're going to be charging up factions, they're going to retaliate, and you're going to be able to do a retaliation where you take over some control points. Now, you can mix this in with opening chests at control points because they have a chance of dropping exotic components, but after every single heroic retaliation, you will get an exotic cache. And you can do the same again. You can set up targeted loot on retaliation and select any weapons or gear pieces to also have a chance of exotics dropping while you're farming it. So this is probably the most efficient way if you're happy playing on heroic, because you are guaranteed an exotic cache on every single clearance of retaliation. It's probably a little bit quicker than Countdown as well, potentially, although you do need to charge them up. So, you know, you got to charge up the mission first, and then you got to do a retaliation. So this or Countdown are probably the two ways I'm going to go about it. Countdown being the more casual sort of autopilot farm because it's just so easy. Retaliation is just going to be great because it's guaranteed and it's probably a little bit, it's not as repetitive as Countdown. But also, again, you can work on other stuff with Retaliation. If you haven't unlocked all the exotic blueprints at your crafting station, you can also work towards all your exotic blueprints. If you haven't finished off all of your named blueprints as well from the reconstructed caches, you can also work towards farming for your reconstructed caches as well and getting all your named blueprints. So it's multi-farming. Again, these two are very efficient ways of doing it. And then finally, the last thing that you can do if you want to farm exotic components very consistently is if you go to priority objectives. Priority objectives can give you a reward as an exotic item. So I don't have any of them offering them me right now. And this is why I don't tend to do these, because there's a chance you don't get offered it and you have to re-roll. But we will re-roll. And you can see again, it's not giving me an exotic reward, so I've got to re-roll again. And it's little bit based on RNG here, but if you get the RNG and you do get priority objectives giving you exotic items as a reward, these are super quick fire exotic components. But I've just done 3 re-rolls to get my first exotic item, so I've got no more re-rolls now. And this is what I don't like about this method, but I think it's worth a mention because if your RNG is in, then you can, these are quick fire normally. This is landed on a stronghold mission, so I've got to go and do a stronghold mission, but it could land on just an open world activity that you got to clear an open world activity, you know. So this is also a good way of doing it. If you want to break up your grind and just have something a little bit different, work on priority objectives and just pick anything that gives you an exotic item as a reward, because then on that exotic item you can break it down for the exotic component. Other than that, there are a few other ways. Like, some people will mention in the video comments, I am sure, what they like to do is start a new character and have a spare character slot. Now, having multiple characters can be a benefit, and some people will have 4 characters, for example. But what I spoke about right at the start of the video, if you go to your projects and the weekly shade requisition, that can be done on every single character. More projects can be done on every single character. So if you have multiple characters, you can kind of like duplicate these or more to get more rewards out of them. But if you keep a spare character slot, what some people do is they create a new character, they get to the base of operations, and they complete that weekly shade requisition project. Sometimes if you bought a certain version of the game as well, you're rewarded with some exotics in your stash. When you create a new characters, you can break them down if you share materials and do boosts and stuff. So there's this method where you can keep on just create a character to get the exotic component and then delete the character, create another character to get the exotic component. I'm not 100% sure on how that works, so I can't show you. But yeah, it's also, for me, a very, very boring way of doing it. But some people will swear by that. And if there's anybody in the comment section that wants to fully explain how that works, please do. But the methods I've shown you in this video is how I do it. Now, one final thing to close the video off is what you also want to be doing is keeping an eye on any seasonal events that might be coming up. Now, we've got one in just a couple of days, so in 20 hours at the time of recording this, we are going to have an expertise surge event. This is perfect for earning exotic components. And if we toggle the event details, the reason being is it says now is the best time to advance your expertise with double upgrade materials, drop quantity from all sources available throughout the event. So that includes exotic components, which I'm being told if I dismantle an exotic during this event, I'm going to get 2 instead of 1. So if you see anything like this coming up, like the expertise surge, what you'll want to do is save your exotics that you get. So still farm the exotic items and definitely still farm the exotic components as well. However, maybe save the exotic component projects until the event's on. And with your exotics that you're earning, just throw them in your stash. Get a nice load of exotics in your stash ready for the event. Don't break them down right away, because on an event like that, when you break down all these exotics, you're going to get more bang for your buck. They're going to double up and you're going to get a lot more exotic components. So keep an eye on that and make sure you're taking full advantage of any events that are coming up. Now, with the new season coming, if they're going to make any adjustments to how you can earn exotic components or not, I'm not sure. It might get a little bit easier going forward because we do have all the prototype gear coming, and for prototype gear, we've got to basically max expertise our builds, and this is why we want exotic components, because to turn that blue screen into level 30, currently it takes 90 exotic components to do that, and it takes 90 to do any gear piece, anything on the build, 90 exotic components to get it maxed out. Now we're pretty sure that's going to be a lower number in the new season, and it's not going to be 90 with the introduction of escalation and prototype gear. But however, you are still going to want to farm as many exotic components as you can, because you want to be max expertise in these builds that you have, so that you can turn them into prototype builds later on. You can't do it without max expertise in them. So yeah, hope the video has been helpful. This is a question I'm getting asked a lot in stream at the minute. How can I farm exotic components? We've been doing it live in stream ourselves as well. That's all I know. They're the best ways that I know, and they're the ways we've discussed in stream. So I hope the video has been helpful. Don't forget to hit like, and again, comment any advice you've got down in the comments. Ask any questions in the comments as well. We'll get back to you. But thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.